Howdy everyone, it's your boy Extemp, and wow, was this volume a wild ride. In this video, we will be discussing Classroom of the Elite Year 2 Volume 12.5, as always spoilers for that volume. You have been warned, go Reddit and support Kinagasa. Now without further ado, here are my thoughts in no particular order. Let's get started. 1. Arisu Sakayanagi. So I'll be the first to admit it, I was wrong. If you've seen my video on Year 2, Volume 12, you know that I genuinely thought that Arisu, even though she was getting expelled, would be saved, in a similar manner to how Ryuin was saved by his classmates when he was getting expelled in the past. But that doesn't seem to be the case. If anything, this volume solidifies the fact that she is genuinely getting kicked out, and Arisu is okay with that fact. She'll be visiting her friend that was previously expelled. This move by Kinagasa has upped the stakes tremendously. I mean, expulsion has always been a looming threat in the series, but it has never successfully been used on a character with as much power in the school as Arisu. With this new precedent, I legitimately am scared for Ryuin, Ichinos, Horikita, even Ayanokouji. Any of them could be expelled. That is both extremely terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, but only time will tell. 1b. Arisu's last act. Next up, another major point about Arisu. She mentioned that she created a secret weakness in Ayanokouji. As soon as I heard about this mystery, my thoughts started racing all over the place. One thought is that Ayanokouji has been causing character changes in all the people around him. Horikita, Ryuin, Arisu, Yosuke, Kei, etc. Likewise, I believe that Arisu is referring to the changes that have occurred within Ayanokouji since he left the WR and started his first day at ANHS. I think perhaps she thinks that Ayanokouji himself is changing enough that he might be able to be defeated. That is, he is no longer the perfect emotionless person that came out of the White Room. But I'll put a pin in this and we'll address this further in a future point. Anyway, moving on. 2. Ayanokouji tells everyone about Mizono. Ayanokouji tells everyone that he expelled Mizono. At this point, Ayanokouji is no longer flying under everyone's radar, and he knows that and utilizes that fact. He is now painting himself as willing to take one for the team, to the point that the whole class ends up respecting him. Though on the flip side, they do also fear him, since the classmates do notice that he's been involved in every previous expulsion. In a masterful stroke, Ayanokouji has both the respect and fear of his classmates, the carrot and stick approach, so to speak. 3. Hashinomiya Senpai. Another big character in this novel is Hashinomiya Sanapi. Usually more happy-go-lucky, she was unusually serious in this novel, due to her long-standing grudge against Chabashira-sensei. Basically, she saw Ayanokouji as a Joker-type character that was able to boost Chabashira-sensei's class to Class A, something that makes her furious, and she, because of the history between the two, apparently back when they were students, Chabashira-sensei's actions caused them to lose out on being Class A. As a teacher at this same school, I can see why she's still stuck in the past. Not to mention how she says she's similar to Ayanokouji, in that drive to keep doing whatever it takes to reach her goal. That being said, big brain Ayanokouji manages to trap her by making sure that all the teachers are aware of her attempt to break the rules to make a deal with him. I believe that he did this in order to ensure that if he were to ever talk to her in the future, no one would ever think that he would do any deals with her, thus keeping his deals a secret. Once again, big brain Ayanokouji reassures Chabashira that he will make sure that Hashinomiya will stop being angry all before spring break ends. Remember this exact wording. I'll put a pin in this for now, and come back to it later. 4. Morishita. When Morishita and Yamamura meet Ayanokouji, Morishita says something important. Something about a traitor? Excuse me, is there another a traitor? Did no one learn from Mizono? Or maybe she's just messing with Ayanokouji. Someone please tell me she is messing with US Ahewewa. 5. What happened with Kei? If you know, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, it finally happened. Yeah, I know that Ayanokouji hinted at this in the earlier volumes, even said he was going to do it after all the exams. But man, is it just so hard to see. Even Kei knew in her heart that it was coming, that Ayanokouji's heart was never there, but she was heartbroken. Even after breaking up, she liked him enough to go along with his story that she was the one who broke up with him. That raises a bunch of questions. Is Ayanokouji right when he says she's a parasite, and breaking her like this is necessary for her to stand on her own 2 feet? Is Kei right that Ayanokouji was just using her as a textbook to experience what a high school relationship, love, and even heartbreak might feel like? Is Arisu right that moments like these might actually be changing Ayanokouji from the heartless guy he was at the start? To that last question, I say that there are little hints that might be true. For instance, Ayanokouji points out that when he sets up his room after Kei left, he accidentally puts out 2 dishes at first, because he's just so used to having the food set up to share with Kei. It shows that even the great Ayanokouji has emotional and muscle memory just like everyone else sometimes. Also, I'm genuinely curious how everyone else will take it. It seems like everyone believes the story, to the point that Kei's friends are giving him the cold shoulder in solidarity to her. But a few people who know the truth, like Hirata, or who know Ayanokouji well, like Horikita, feel like something's up, even if they can't quite their finger on it. Oh well, only time will tell about what happens to poor Kei, if she will fly high like a phoenix or break apart like shattered glass. 6. The phone number. Ayanokouji gets a random phone number from a mysterious N. At first, small brain me was like, N? Who's N? Is that a new person we've never seen? And then I realized, wait a second, N. Nagumo. It's gotta be Nagumo, right? Nagumo's name starts with an N. Is this Nagumo's way of staying in touch now that he's gone? That's honestly sweet, all things considered. It does leave me hope for a future series where we can see Manabu, Nagumo, Ayanokouji, and the rest of the gang post-NHS, perhaps even in university. Speaking of Ayanokouji's future. 7. Ayanokouji's future role. So it seems like the student meeting where Ayanokouji and Papa Ayanokouji meet verify that Ayanokouji will indeed come back as a teacher to the White Room after this series ends. Or at the very least, that is what Ayanokouji is saying to his father, though to be fair, honestly, with how powerful his father is, and how stubborn his dad seems to be, I don't really see a universe where he's not forced back after Ayanokouji finished his time at ANHS. There is a little bit of me that hopes for the power of friendship, and somehow the combined power of everyone that we've met along the way will be able to help Ayanokouji beat his father and pursue his dreams in the end. But I don't think that will be the case. Only time will tell. Anyway, upward and onward. 8. Ayanokouji verifies his 4-class motive. Ayanokouji verifies the saving 4-class theory that I mentioned in the last video. This is critical. Ayanokouji spells out here that for year 3, he is trying to get all 4 classes on a level playing field. That is to say, make it so that each class has an equal chance of making it to Class A. This is very interesting when we consider the current rankings, where Horikita and Ryuin are gaining by some margin on the classes of Arisu and Ichinos. Once again, put a pin in this, we'll circle back to this later. 9. Koenji. Once again, Koenji and Ayanokouji trade some verbal spars. It seems to me at this point that Ayanokouji sees Koenji as a wildcard threat to his year 3 plan. However, things are getting spicy. Fire. Papa Ayanokouji and Papa Koenji just made a bet with huge implications. First off, the message that Papa K had Chabashira-sensei give Koenji gives us insight into Koenji's character, namely that he has this drive towards freedom. He's been acting so carefree for the series because he's had unlimited freedom. However, once he hears this message from his dad, I'm sure that this threat to his freedom will be like flipping a switch to him. Honestly, I'm getting scared for Ayanokouji. I'm sensing that a motivated Koenji will be like the final boss of the series, even giving Ayanokouji trouble. But only time will tell. 10. Horikita. This novel definitely continued the development of Horikita. In Volume 12 I showed how Horikita has been growing as a character. While I think this novel has Horikita character development, I think this novel is more unique in that we get development in terms of Horikita's romantic feelings. To explain what I mean, think back to K. Since breaking up with K, news spreads fast and everyone hears about what has happened. Of course, people like Hirata and Horikita who know Ayanokouji directly want to question him. As Horikita and Ayanokouji talk about the situation, Ayanokouji jokes that Horikita could be next if she wanted. Of course, Horikita says no sir, but since we are able to see things from her perspective, we see that what should have been normal banter actually might have affected her. She asks herself, what are these feelings? That is the sound of someone whose heart is starting to pitter-patter romantically, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, Horikita pushes these feelings down and away because she doesn't want to think about it. But the fact she even has to confront romantic feelings in the first place is huge in terms of her romantic development. If you flash back to when Sudo officially confessed Horikita, you remember that one of the reasons she turned him down is because she didn't feel right going out with him. She had never even felt romantic love for someone before. As Anna and Han sing in Frozen, love is an open door, ladies and gentlemen. And this novel may have just cracked Horikita's door to her heart just a little bit. Another big point with Horikita comes at the class party where their class gets to celebrate their new status as a top class. Horikita points out how she enjoys being with everyone. In particular, she calls Ayanokouji a source of support, and is sad when he has to leave the party early. I am gushing you guys. Remember this, put in a pin in this. I'll circle back to this later. Moving on. 11. Ishizaki. Ishizaki clearly saw the girl on the cover of the book. He wants Ayanokouji to join his class, and as a benefit, he offers Ayanokouji being able to go out with Hiyori. Ishizaki is a Hiyori x Ayanokouji fan confirmed? Funny, but Ayanokouji still says no. Though I think Hiyori wouldn't mind being with her book buddy slightly smiling face. 12. Ichinos. How could we talk about 12.5 without mentioning Ichinos and all the crazy stuff with her? Where do I begin? Let's start with Ayanokouji's perspective. If you remember, Ayanokouji made a deal with Ichinos, back when she was feeling bad after her secret past as a shoplifter for her sister's sake had come out. Ayanokouji comforted her, helped her, and after some time they ended up making a deal to meet again in a year when she became forward. Anyway, this is that day, and so Ayanokouji messages her to see how she is doing, and ends up going to her room to check on her. Basically, Ayanokouji explains what he meant in the previous novels when he said that he would bury her with his own hands. Basically, if Ichinos doesn't rise like a phoenix, he would expel her. The whole point of creating all this pressure on Ichinos was to create a tougher Ichinos, even one possibly motivated by hate or spite, in order to have her lead her class successfully to Class A. Imagine his shock, as well as mine, to see that Ichinos is not in fact a hateful person towards Ayanokouji. On the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, I think Ayanokouji accidentally made Ichinos into a Yandere. Look at the look in her eyes and tell me that you are not scared, because I am scared. Honestly feels like she would destroy the world to get to Ayanokouji, and it is terrifying. Ayanokouji presents Ichinos with two options. Either be expelled and leave, and let Ayanokouji take over her class with his ruthless strategy, meaning people will be expelled, or keep being leader of her class but forever forsake their chance on making it to Class A. What choice will she choose? Let's put a pin in that for now. Also, good thing Kei broke up with him because Ichinos goes crazy gaga over Ayanokouji, and ended up spending the night together. What did they do? IDK because I'm a pure innocent small bean, so I'm going to pretend that she just hugged him. Yup, that's all Ichinos did, and definitely nothing else. Oh look, why is that T-Rex on the screen? Anyway, moving on. 12b, Ichinos in class. Flash forward to Ichinos in her class. We don't actually know which option we chose, but knowing how motivated she is now, My theory is that somehow she combined the two and chose a third option, that is to say, she stays and protects her class, but also finds a way to lift them up towards Class A. She ends up telling everyone that she likes Ayanokouji. Kenzaki of course is furious, since he is one of the few in the class who wants everyone to stop singing Hakuna Matata and focus on actually trying to get to Class A. Now notice how Ichino's has changed. She manages to negotiate with Kenzaki into proving that there is a way forward for their class, all while being able to still save everyone. In fact, Kenzaki says he feels a chill creeping on his spine. This is an intense in love Ichino's. She doesn't play games, ladies and gentlemen. Onward to the final point. 13. Ending strategy of Ayanokouji. So Ayanokouji has ended up going to another class, just as we predicted last novel except, wait what? How smooth brain am I? I thought he was going to Ichino's class. I thought the whole third option they had figured out was that Ayanokouji would provide his power to bring Ichino's class to Class A, while Ichino's would remain to restrain him and ensure that he didn't sacrifice any of the class, which would also make Hashinomiya-senpai happy. So imagine my shock and horror when I hear Hashimoto and realize that Ayanokouji is joining Class A, aka Arisu's class. I mean, in retrospect, it makes so much sense. With Arisa gone, there is a power vacuum and they will need a leader, and there's no obvious leader that we know of in their class. And while it is true that there might be some people suspicious of him, with the support of Hashimoto and others, this class is very smart and eventually will realize just how strong Ayanokouji is and will be more than willing to have him lead their class. In addition, this is something I noticed with Ayanokouji, namely with how he always finds tricks and traps in getting his way. He made a promise to Chapshira-sensei to have the Hashimiya issue settled by the end of the break. That is the exact wording. She, of course, assumed that he meant that he would somehow calm her down. However, by talking with her, Ayanokouji was able to establish Hashinomiya-sensei's motive for fighting in the first place. She doesn't want Chapshira-sensei to get to Class A at any cost. So by moving to Class A, Ayanokouji keeps his promise to Chapshira-sensei even though he does something that she definitely 100% won't like, aka removing her Joker aka himself. Another big promise that Ayanokouji is going to subvert is actually his promise to Horikita. Way back in the beginning of the first year, Horikita made Ayanokouji promise that he would get her and Class D up to Class A. I think this is technically Ayanokouji's way of fulfilling that promise. He never said anything about him having to be a part of the class that makes it to Class A. This is a continuation of her development as a class leader. I think Ayanokouji is throwing down the metaphorical gauntlet at Horikita there. He is giving her the promised chance to make it to Class A, but it will have to be through her and her class power. The student must surpass the master, so to speak. She must beat Ayanokouji, Ryuin, and Ichino's the other leaders, and ultimately make it to Class A with the rest of her class. Circling back to the image of Horikita, this information that Ayanokouji, the mad lad, really did and actually finally switched classes, really shook me. I can only imagine how it will affect the rest of his class members, especially Horikita, Hirata, Kei, all of those who look to him as guidance and a friend and solid member of the class. I think this picture is the foreshadowing of all the hurt that she and the rest of the class will feel after hearing that he left their class. But only time will tell. That being said, Koenji is the last level final boss that might be the class secret weapon. So we'll see, fellow extempers, we'll see. Anyway, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm super looking forward to year 3 now. I just wonder how it will be to have Ayanokouji in a different class. Anyway, see you guys later. Man, I really gotta make an outro catchphrase.